What's going on in the world today? What's up, Chase?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing great. I just went ahead and hit the button for us to go live inside of Top Agent Experts. So let's see if we're live over there. Give everybody a few minutes to get synced in here.
Cool, cool.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm pretty excited to have you on here today. Um, I know that speaking with you, you officially been with the group a little over a year. So congratulations with that.
Yeah,
And
thank you, man. It's been a crazy 16, I guess it hadn't quite been 16 months, but it's been a blur, that's for sure.
right. You're definitely crushing it for sure. So we're going to get into all that stuff today. I'm going to turn it over to you here in a few minutes. What's up, Marius? Jay-Z, glad you can get synced in here. Sarah, what's up? We're gonna out of respect for time and your time, we're gonna get started here right at the top of the hour. As always, I know a lot of people catch this on the replay. What's up, Donovan? So Donovan's another younger guy that's with us out of the Florida area. So hopefully you kind of inspire him today. He's in the transition of, young, got a couple kids and, making the transition from his 9 to 5 job to real estate, and ramping up to that. And I know you had, just mentioned a few minutes ago, it takes a while to build up that book of business, and it's going to be interesting to see how you did it and started to get repeat and referral clients, coming back and stuff like that. But I love seeing young people growing. And I joked around with one of my posts. I said, I don't know if this guy can get into a bar yet, but he knows how to get to the closing table, right? In the closing situations. But it's like I'm 41. I'm sure with a baby face, so like I've always looked way younger than what I am. So I don't know if you're in that same situation, but welcome, Chase. You've been with the group for over a year, and I know you've first quarter just out here getting it pending, close over a little over 5 million. Typically we're having the icon agents on here for sure. I love your energy and just kind of, wanted to have you on here to, see everybody's complaining about deals being down, industry being down. It's hard to find clients. We're having to work harder for less pay. But then I look at you and you just seem to have a glow about you. You're excited. So I'd like for you to kind of share a little bit about your background and then where you're finding business. What's the one thing that makes Chase, in terms of where do you find your business? And, you've been in the business since 2016. So it's not like you're green at this. You've been at it a while. I'm interested. Did you get your license in high school or when did you get your real estate license? So tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and how you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, man. I literally laughed out loud when I saw you wrote he may not be able to get into a bar, but he gets to the closing table. I'm 28 years old, so I can definitely get in a bar. I like to, have a good time. So you can find me at the bar sometimes celebrating. So, but no, I did start out in 2016. I got my license while I was in college. Over the summer, I did that as sort of an internship situation. I didn't want to go work in a cubicle in Atlanta, crunching numbers for a commercial real estate firm. I decided I wanted to be face-to-face with people in sales. So got my license, sold a couple properties over the summer. Then later that year, I graduated with a degree in real estate from the University of Georgia. Which sounds cool, doesn't mean a whole lot. In fact, I joke around now, I'm glad I did it, but the only time I really get to use that degree is when I find myself in a listing appointment with somebody who just happens to be a UGA fan, and then I bring it out and then it comes in handy, right? So outside of, it's just sounds cooler than it is, but it was a good experience. But I worked with a home builder for a little while after that, tried out a few different brokers after that, struggled. I would have some success and then I would fail. I would save up some money and then find myself broke again. So it was really very much a struggle figuring things out. Definitely not from an entrepreneur style family or anything like that. So I had to really rely on trial and error and some of the people around me. So tried out a few different brokers, like I said, finally found myself on a team in 2019, and the timing was perfect. I met, some people that led me to that team from some masterminds. There's a great mastermind out in Dallas called Apex Entourage,
Yep.
run by one of my favorite mentors, Ryan Stewman.
Uh-huh.
And that, led me to getting a lot of experience in a short amount of time, selling a lot of houses, doing about 12 million in volume every year, about 40 deals. And it did get to the point where I felt like my next step was to go solo. And it wasn't a cocky or ego thing. It was just, hey, I have certain goals and I'm not going to reach them here. And I found, I had a lot of friends that were with EXP, a lot of people that were doing big things and, achieving the goals that I wanted to achieve. And so that's where I found my next home, was with EXP. Top agent experts. There's some like crazy heavy hitters in here. So I'm definitely honored to be on this webinar today. But yeah, what I'm going to share today is how to be more profitable, how to take what you have and squeeze every little drop out of it. And at the end of the day, how to keep more money in your pocket. And that's why we're all doing this, right? To have freedom, and freedom costs money. So one thing I do want to do is put a disclaimer out there that says, I'm 28 years old. I have 0 children. I'm very much okay with, being out here hustling and making a lot of the moves on my own to be more profitable. So some of this will hopefully help the younger guy that you mentioned earlier. And some of it may be completely irrelevant to the people who have, multiple children and not a lot of time to actually put into their business. So I do want to throw that disclaimer out there. But so I guess really breaking it down, a lot of what I have to talk about today comes from my experience over the last year in 2022. I started out fresh with EXP as of January 3rd, and I was starting essentially from scratch. I went solo. So I pretty much threw my wallet at everything you can think of. It's crazy, but real estate agents are like the most, I feel like, poached on people by marketers and everyone out there. We're constantly being sold something, and unfortunately, we don't really learn where to put our money. We have to learn that through trial and error. So hopefully I can help save you some money today by my mistakes. I threw my wallet at a lot of stuff last year, spent a lot of money. And at the end of 22, when I was really looking at what I had done in my business, looking at the final numbers, looking at my 1099, looking at, all my bank account, all that, I realized that if I made a few adjustments, if I had sold exactly the amount of same real estate this year, I would have in my bank account net profit. Like, it's there. I can see it. I can feel it. I would be about $35,000 to $40,000 more in my bank account if I had made a few small adjustments. So that was my goal for this year in 2023, was to be more profitable, be more efficient. And I told myself, hey, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to crush it. But in a worst case scenario, if only I sell as much as I did last year, I'm still going to make $35,000, $40,000 more than I did last year because of these adjustments. So that's been the goal this whole time. Now, as we talked about, I do have a lot of SOI business this year. I'm very grateful for referrals, things like that. That does take time, so if you're, and I don't think anybody in here is really super brand new, but if you're not having that SOI or referral business, then yeah, you do have to spend some money to get some leads. But I guess where I'll start is where I was spending that money. So 2022 came out solo, started spending money on mailers, started spending money on PPC. I got set up with Boomtown. I'm very much the kind of person who just like gets started and sometimes figures it out later. So here I am with EXP with a free CRM, yet I go spend thousands of dollars a month with Boomtown. So that was just a dumb mistake right there. That was recommended by somebody that I admired and runs a very successful operation. but they're not with EXP. So they don't even have the option for using KV Core. So I spent in a little over $2,000 a month with Boomtown, $2,000 a month on mailers. Some of that was, I did have a deal worked out with a partner lender to where they were cutting the cost, which is one way to be more profitable, is to get vendor partners to help you pay for stuff. I was spending money on, all the next things. I was finding out the hard way that, just for example, there's some companies out there that they take PPC, just Google pay-per-click advertising, which in real estate, I think that it's hopefully still the same cost, but the average buyer lead generated through Google pay-per-click should only cost you between $7 and like $13 a lead, is what I've kind of learned. I could be a little off about that, but that's been my experience. So for some of these people that are charging like crazy amounts of money, they're taking PPC and just dressing it up as something super sexy. And when you really break it down, it's just Google pay-per-click. So you're just sending them money to do something that you really could do for yourself. So I, rather than paying like these third-party companies, I was running it through Boomtown. But even now I know that Boomtown was essentially setting up a very simple campaign, and something that you could do yourself and save you a lot of money. So I love PPC, by the way. It definitely helped my business last year. One of my biggest deals last year was from PPC. It was a lady moving from North Carolina. So I'm definitely not hating on that. It's just now this year, I cut out Boomtown completely and I moved to KV Core. So now I have all of my stuff in KV Core, and I actually haven't turned the PPC back on, but when I do, I know a lot more about it now, and it saved me some money there. And you have to be careful. There's a lot of those companies out there that are just bullshit, to be honest with you. And it's tough. I've learned the hard way there. Part of my journey last year was, I'm looking at some notes too. I spent money on a video guy, which is just crazy. Like, I was literally compensating for my, I guess, fear going solo and everything, and just throwing money at stuff. And I had a video guy that was helping me shoot content when that's just absolutely nuts. I mean, that was like $700 a month. So like, my main point is keep it simple. You save so much money and you actually boost your productivity so much by keeping things simple. And if you're anything like me, I'm way more productive when I'm not worried about money. So it was a big win for me, cutting expenses and increasing my productivity, my creativity, etc. I had to cut out, I had a buyer's agent last year. That was a big thing that I was kind of wrapped up in, was I felt like I had to start growing this team, and I had to, have a ISA and all this. And, so I went and hired virtual ISAs. I had a buyer's agent. And while all that was cool, it was unnecessary at this point in my business, and that's why I made the disclaimer. If you've got kids and all that, it may be necessary for you, but for me, it wasn't necessary and it was costly. I had my buyer's agent was a kick-ass real estate agent, and wasn't the right fit. I didn't know how to truly hire. And while she was a great agent, the job was too stressful for her. She went back into education, and that was, a good chunk of commissions that I had given to her that really I should have just worked it myself. So it did free up a good bit of time, but I found myself like with all this extra time and out money. So this year I said, I'm going to cut out what's unnecessary. I'm going to freaking grind it out. I'm going to do what I have to do, and I'm going to stack. I'm just like, if you know Bobby Castro, he's another great guy in the real estate world. He says stack and rack. And that was my plan for this year. So cut out the buyer's agent. I cut out the virtual ISAs. I had them on, and I didn't even have a full, SOPs in place, so they're making contacts with our leads and it's costing me money every day. But then I'd go to my, my part to go in and set the appointment and go to the appointment, and these people didn't even know who I was. So there was like a massive break in communication between the actual ISA and the prospect. So we're just wasting money at this point. So I cleaned up a lot of that stuff. When I took away a lot of the fancy stuff that's costing money, it forced me to have a different mindset and say, okay, how am I going to do this? And that's when I turned to OpCity, for example. Yeah, you pay a fat chunk of your commission on the back end, but it didn't cost you anything to acquire that lead. So that's how I looked at it. And I'm like, all right, that's costing me $0 right now. I'm willing to have that in my overall arsenal, just to keep some deal flow coming. Like, I don't care if I have to cut them on the back end at this moment, because it's not costing me anything up front. So I've closed 2 deals so far this year that came from OpCity, and it's been a great, some of those, one of them especially was left me like a raving review. The other one left a really good review too, but these have been great clients that came out of OpCity. Cutting down on expenses forced me to lean more into the organic marketing. I started up a local wine club with a lender partner of mine. And once a month, we meet up with people in where I live. Because I want to have more business where I live. I'm, tired of driving all over the damn map to get business. I'd like to be more local. So I started up this wine club. We meet once a month, and we hang out and drink wine with people locally. And that is literally it. It's not completely free. We have like $100 a month on Facebook ads to promote that. And we end up paying for, a little bit of food, sometimes a couple $100 to bring in a musician. But for the most part, it's very cost effective, and it's helping us get in front of people in our local community. And dude, I'm just rambling, so feel free if we need to stop or whatever. But it forced me to get more creative online, like with YouTube. I started doing some YouTube stuff, and I've currently got a new build under contract for it's like they still got to go to design, but it's like 850,000 is what it's going to end up being at. That's a solid freaking deal that came from social media. I was posting videos and reels, not just on YouTube, but I would make the long form content for YouTube and then split it up and have a couple reels from that for Instagram and Facebook. And had a buddy from college reach out, and they were like, holy shit, we're looking at that area. Like we want to be there. We saw your video. Can you get us more info on this community? I'm like, absolutely. So that's a deal that I've currently got in the pipeline. I've got another client. We're waiting on some lots to be released, but they're going to end up being a $1.3 million deal. And that came from YouTube. So that's not even under contract yet, so I've still got stuff that's, paying off here in the next, in the rest of the year. But cutting out some of this unnecessary stuff, it forced me to be more creative. It forced me to go back to some of the basics, it forced me to focus. I've gotten, good referrals from my preferred lender. That's been huge. I think everybody should have, like, if you're steadily giving money to your lender, either they're giving you money back for marketing with a MSA or something like that, or if they're not, maybe they're sending their friends and family to you. And I've had that arrangement for the past few years, and it continues to pay off. I've got a property that just went under contract over the weekend, first time home buyers for 410,000 is a contract. And, that came from my partner lender. And it's just because I send him business, he returns the favor. Like, I think everybody should have that arrangement, whether it's through an MSA or them just sending their friends and family to you.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. You definitely unloaded a lot right there, but it's it, well, it's the same process that a lot of people go through. And like here's what I mean by that. When you talk about Boomtown versus KV Core, that's an interesting conversation. And I know that KV Core just bought Boomtown, but when you think about I run Boomtown in Wichita. I built an independent brokerage where I got top 10 in the nation. By building on that platform, I was like one of the top, like first 100 clients, and then they ended up going on becoming a Fortune 500 company. But KV Core is a great single agent product, right? Boomtown, when I think about that, or like Commissions Inc., or, a platform like that, it's like essentially what you're going to build your mega teams on, or you're going to build a brokerage around, right? With a lead generation piece. So, I mean, there was no reason for you to be running Boomtown at that time, right? If you had even like KV Core has definitely evolved over the last 5 years since I've been with EXP, but if you didn't have at least a team of 10, 15, like there's no reason for you to run anything other than KV Core. And so like you're just looking at somebody you respect, you look up to. It's like, what tech do you run, right? They might have had different needs, different structure, like everything around their lead generation. So good job, wising up with that. And this is why the Top Agent Expert Network is so important. You referenced a bunch of ballers, and it's like we're all just trying to get to the next level. People are trying to get to what I've done, people where they're at, you're trying to get to, so on and so forth, and being able to have partners in financial alignment, which you guys can always find me at adamlivechat.com. Just hop on my calendar. We're willing to show you guys what is the next financial thing that I need to invest in, because it's about doing the right things in the right financial order, not going and buying mailers, not buying just random, PC leads, not hiring a buyer agent because you think building a team is cool, right? Teams are really built out of a necessity of an overflow of business. And so you're trying to build a team. So you're trying to grow through license numbers, right? Instead of volume or unit count. And so you shouldn't have been giving up really any business. You should have had an overflow of business and then been able to, stay in a more high leverage situation with like, I'm only going to focus on listings now, and you're going to take all my buyer stuff, or you're taking all the sign call stuff. But you found yourself in this like weird position where you had to go out here and spend money to try to find deals for a newer agent, right? Or let's hire ISAs. And the ISA, topic is definitely interesting. Most people know me as the ISA guy or the call center I built and drove production. But when I'm coaching people, it's really the last pillar to your business. And people always want to make that the first pillar. And it's like, that's the last thing you should get off of your plate, because it is the highest and best use of your time, interfacing with the consumer, convincing them that your brand promise and what you have to offer is better than the next person, versus you trying to spend money and not have to prospect, sell, or negotiate like that anymore. And then you're showing up to appointments and they're like, who are you again? Why are you here? Right. And it's like, hold on, there's that disconnect. Right. And so you were trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And I know you spend a fair amount of money to be in Apex. That's like not cheap. Like people are my caliber in Apex. So I commend you for being young and like just saving up money to even get in a crowd like that. And it's not just real estate. It's across all entrepreneurs, across all industries, like at the top level people. Right. And I love Stuman. And it seemed like you've been taking, a few nuggets from him, but this is like where people get, caught up with the shiny object syndrome that you were talking about. And it's like, we are the most poached people. We are the most sold to, like, I believe, single, like we'll just say like entity or whatever salesperson that's remarketed to. And so people could be selling you anything, and it's like, well, shit, my other friend was doing this, or I seen that, like, my other buddy running this, so like I must need it, but it might not be what you need right now. Yes, you can put that in your arsenal or put that piece of the puzzle in, but there's a bunch of other stuff that needs to happen before that. And if you don't do that, you're gonna go broke. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where you're like, let me boil this back down to its simplest form, and then start to build up the cheapest and the right way. So I love that, and good job with Op City too, because Op City is like you're paying for results. You pay to play. Mm-hmm. Like I run Op City, and it's a good way and it's Op City tied with Rise, where they're coaching us on the algorithm and how to hack the algorithm, stay top of the algorithm, just like with all the other third party service providers, because you can go to the bottom and get shit leads, or you got to close at least 3 to you have a chance at being called what's an experienced agent, so you can work your way up to the top of the algorithm. It's like, you have agents where we're hopping on their coaching calls. It's tough to stay competitive with that algorithm, even with like people with realtor.com, the actual engineers behind it. It's a self-learning AI algorithm. And it's like, well, it should be doing this. And this is what it was built to, how it should be thinking about now. So they don't even know, you know what I mean? And so if you're not involved with these type of things, and it's like, yeah, these leads are going to be shit or whatever. But like you mentioned it best, it's like you're not paying, and on average, it's about $15 Google pay-per-click advertising leads. If, depending on where they're coming out in the funnel, skip trades, verified, I'm paying 90 for some, but they're more the middle of the funnel, not top of the funnel. Like Chase is talking about, around $6 to $12 a pop. On average, you can expect to pay 15. But most people close those at a 1%. If you're doing really good across the nation, that's 3%. So you take 100 leads, you close one of them, you're out all that money and risking all of that, especially if you're generating them for a school teacher, like you said, or some ISAs that don't even know your value proposition, how to articulate and position you as the expert for the appointment, whatever it may be. You're just burning that cash first with like Opcity, or there's a handful of other people or a handful of other third-party companies you guys can reach out to me about, where you can get live transfers, you can get set up, but they're not charging you any upfront money. But depending on the price range of the actual closing volume, you will pay 25 to 35%. But then again, it's like, if you don't close anything, you're penalized with the algorithm instead of your bank account, right? And the mailers and all these different things that you had going on. It's like, yeah, they're necessary right now, but you're trying to become a mayor in a neighborhood with mailers, when it's like, I just need a closing. I just need to know if I'm going to stay in the game, if I'm going to be in business next year, right? And so it's like, I'm having to generate leads in this huge radius and drive 45 minutes, maybe an hour, however, whatever that radius is that you're talking about, that isn't your hyper local community. And it's like, let's get better at networking. Let's get better at some social proof from growing with a grassroots movement, with a wine party, with some music and all that stuff. And so I love that. And that thing will turn into something really big. And then being able to host, other businesses on that night, and you talked a lot about co-marketing agreements, which I absolutely love. And if you guys don't have co-marketing agreements in place, I mean, we have contracts right now. I've been through tons of different compliance departments. We have contracts built that are RESPA approved, all of that stuff, and can show you how to get through to get these approved, so you can be splitting costs 50-50 with your ISAs, lead gen, stuff like that. But then you start talking about a hyper local stuff. You don't need MSA agreements for this, but then you can start showcasing some of your other partners, or not even partners, other business owners in that same community that you are attempting to generate business from. Because a lot of you guys know that I built an organization of 2,500 people, and I did it through a keyword called tap rooting. And so I've sponsored 20 some people overall, but I tapped root into their network, right? And I didn't go out and try to prospect and one-off recruit. Agents know other agents, and other top agents know other top expert agents, right? And so I would rather get a list of their sharpest, toppest friends that are gonna, listen to them, listen to me, and start off with some credibility. And so wherever you're trying to generate this business from, to be showing up there, where, like whether you're local there or not, it just works. Psychology. And it's like, they're inviting their friends, or they see that their business is featured, right? And talking about, it could be an Italian wine place next door down the street that ties in with the wine, right? And do you not think that Italian wine place has some upper end, hyper local favorite, like people that go in there twice a week, once a week, like they're reoccurring customers that are gonna, see you or see them kind of co-branding something together, and you're gonna be able to pick up and tap root into their network, which is from the Italian food, but all them people need houses too, right? Kyle Whissel does it best when he started even building his food channel. I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago, before anybody was doing this. And he says that he gets more engagement on the real estate side of things off his food channel than on his real estate channel. And it's like, that's crazy to me that more people are engaging on the real estate side of things on your food channel than on your real estate channel. Because, and he has way more followers, all of that stuff. And he's like, because real estate in general is boring. We're posting a picture, we're posting a video, we're saying the same stuff, right? Right. But through highlighting, different crafts of beer, different hamburgers, different, whatever it is that is being featured inside of that community, you're tap rooting into that business owner's like database and their followers and all of that stuff. And then when they see like, oh, well, they're friends with so-and-so, or they must believe in that agent, then I'm going to follow Chase. Right. And then it helps with the influence piece to that. So I think you guys are onto something. And yes, it's hard to track direct ROI with that, Chase. Like you were trying to articulate, the couple $100 for the music, couple $100 for Facebook ads, but that's going to have a geometric effect down the road, especially if these people are showing up to the wine tasting event and you have like a QR code and a giveaway or something, like you're branding with another business owner to get them to opt into something. Then you can start to track the opt-in, right? And then the messaging and the communication and all of that stuff. So I like it, man. Good stuff. Like what was the aha moment to step back and say, okay, let me simplify all of this? And the YouTube piece to this, I think, is where everybody needs to be at. It's like right now, YouTube and Google My Business, and then TikTok really third, is really where you need to be, posting your videos and then repurposing it. The shorts on YouTube are killing it right now. There's way more of a demand for shorts on Facebook than the actual supply of the feed that's happening. And and so it's like that long form content, that short form content, that don't cost anything to create. But when you had a $700 videographer following you around, it's like what you see people in Apex doing, or you see some of these other higher end influencers, we'll call them that you're probably, and it's like, that's what you thought you had to do, but you don't have to do that right now, because it's like, you got a camera, your camera looks good, you got a mic, right? And it's like, let me just start to curate my own content. But we have to get it with the keywords and the platform where the eyeballs are at right now. Google My Business, YouTube, and TikTok are where the eyeballs are at, and so until you can really become overwhelmed with, we'll just say being able to record, edit, and, chop it up and get it out yourself, you really don't need to be paying for that. And it's like, how much business did you get off of paying the $700 a month? How much?
None.
When you know the message that needs to go out, your hands are like in the dirt, your feet are on the ground, you're able to shoot some content, and you're able to attract, granted, I know it was a high school buddy or somebody you went to college with, but it's like, with that same message got out in the same place in the same way? Probably not, right? And so
I hadn't talked to that guy since college. So that's, yes, it was somebody that I knew, but literally hadn't talked to the guy since college. And when I started to put that content out, it just so happened to resonate with him and his wife, because they had already been looking at the neighborhood. So yeah, I mean, the breaking point, the aha moment was really just, oh shit, like I'm running out of money. This is crazy. I'm, when I look at my spreadsheet of all my expenses, I'm like, this is nuts. Like, this makes 0 sense. So I really just put my ego aside, was like, you know what, going back to basics, gonna really force as much free and cost effective stuff as I can.
yeah.
And I was also okay with it being a long game too. I kind of accepted that, hey, some of this stuff I put out, it's not to get leads right away necessarily, but it will pay off. I've got another deal under contract now where the client is somebody that was in my sphere. They've seen me post stuff for years now, and they actually met with an agent, and the agent rubbed them completely the wrong way. So they hit me up, so while I wasn't necessarily their first top of mind choice, I was their second, because they've been seeing this stuff. And when that agent failed to deliver, I was able to make it happen. So you really just never know what's going to happen. But until you like put it out there, you'll never find out what can happen. And the best way to put stuff out there is literally to just stop caring so much and just put it out there. Just be be inexpensive with it so that you're more efficient with it. The YouTube stuff, I'd go out there and I would shoot with my phone and a mic, and I would pay a guy, I think it was $125 to edit. So I was like, I can at least go shoot the video. I might not know how to edit it and all this, but hell, that's $125 versus like the $700 that I was paying somebody before. So even that in itself is like massively more efficient than what I was doing. So it's just constantly reevaluating and adjusting and finding out what works for you. Again, what works for me at my stage in my business. I wanted to have more money in my bank account. I wanted to have I wanted to cut off money on everything that wasn't bringing an ROI. And I just went to work, and I am a few years into this business. So luckily I am starting to get some traction with referrals, SOI, stuff like that. It's a long game, and I'll continue to reap those benefits in the future of people who are maybe watching me now, like in the wine club. Like I might maybe 2 years from now, and I'm like, hey, I just closed $1 million deal that came from somebody from the wine club that I started 2 years ago. You never really know, but until you get started.
Yeah, it's where you're at with having deals closed frequently and easier right now. Hopefully you're setting up the Rams program, and that's what we've been helping a lot of people do inside of Top Agent Experts right now. Gary and Jay-Z are running those calls of how to set up the Raving Fans Past Client program, because people are closing deals, but then they're spending money to try to make money again, and they're not taking into account the lifetime value of their past clients, right? And then also tap rooting into them, or marketing, investing some of that money back into them. So they are the salespeople. They are bringing you business back. That is not costing $15 a lead, but it's $1 or $2. I'm sorry, a referral. Again, I love putting it like this. I think, for a lot of the teams or single agents that's running these programs, on average, it's about $100 or $1.80 a referral. So how many times would you pay $1.80 if your mom was able to hand somebody over and edify you like that, versus $15 a lead? And so hopefully, Chase, you take look at the Rams program, or what's being, posted in there, and get that set up for yourself, because that's going to be a way for you to control costs, and it will easily give you a boost of, 20 to 30% in your ROI and your net, without carrying a lot of new overhead or marketing costs. And I love the fact, simplify things back down. And I know you're young, and so then it's like ADHD, can really, everybody wants to overcomplicate it, because even when I'm coaching and teaching my partners stuff, they've heard it before. We've all heard something before, right? But no, this is what you need next. And it's they want to overcomplicate it, because it has to be complicated in their mind, because it's a new level that they have never achieved yet. So it has to be hard. It has to be something new. It has to be, something that they don't understand, right? And it's no, it's this is what you need. And this has to become a very predictable piece of your business that you can turn over to another person. So then you can move on to the next pillar. Some of my team leaders, I told them to up their spend, create more seats on the bus, because they were ready for it. And they were going to pick up, more talented people that needed to merge in with them. Other people, I said, you need to drop certain lead sources, and you need to get back into a niche. And they're like, well, I don't have enough leads as it is, or whatever. And so I need to cast a bigger net, which is true if you have the conversion piece figured out. And it's if you don't, or if you just barely have it figured out, kind of on an intermediate level, you need to become a trusted advisor, and you need to become known for what? It could be expireds. It could be FSBOs. It could be internet lead conversion. It could be past clients. It could be the wine club, right? But it's at this given point in time, you need to go deep, not wide, right? And that's kind of what you're talking about. You were going wide, right? And then you weren't seeing the ROI come in, the market shift, everything's hitting the fan, oh shit. And then so you're let me just simplify it. with a few things that I know that I can control, like Chase can control this, right? And have an impact on the actual conversion piece to it and the creation piece to it, even if now you are subbing out the editing for a hundred and some bucks or spending a little bit here, at least you're going deep in just 2 to 3 things that you're confident that you can evolve into, right? And so that I love that. And so that's why I was telling a lot of people less is more. You'll generate more, you'll become more effective. And then also the referral business will become, more frequently. And it's just like, if you're not known as a specialist, or we'll just say like probate or like any of that stuff, it's like, I matched one of my people up with one of my older agents in my network. He started branding himself as the baby boomer trusted advisor. And he's sending out postcards right now versus the postcards he was sending out before were just shotgun approach. Yeah, they had a unique value proposition on it, but he gets a much greater response from targeting an avatar where he's the specialist in it, right? And so then he talks to other baby boomers. Like we have new seller lead generation funnel, that we're building off ISAs, and I kicked it over to him, and I didn't know the age of the guy or whatever. I had Steve reach out to him. He's one of my old brokers with our independent firm and running with us now. And he was like, I had a great conversation. He's like, he's 75 years old. He's got a $600,000 house to sell. Our average sales price is 200,000, by the way. And it's like, he's not sick. He's not like ill. He doesn't have dementia or Alzheimer's. He just knows that he needs to make a decision to start downsizing, right? Before he starts getting sick. And Steve hit it off with him with the whole trusted advisor, being a baby boomer, and that guy connected with it, right? Or the postcards that's been responding, to him. It's like he's getting a specific type of person reaching out to him. And do you not think all these older baby boomers that don't trust these young chases that's prospecting them or running around talking about a bunch of different things? It's like, we might not be their cup of tea, but Steve's going to get referred to more baby boomer type of people because that's his niche, right? When he told me he was going to go down that road, I said, I don't know if that is going to be a good route, because it's like maybe they already have their trust set up. Maybe family members already taking care of them. Like my mind was judging that avatar of person, right? And so even Michelle is her name. She's a little bit older, and I was telling her about the coining this phrase and creating some marketing around it, and she had the same perception I did. And I said, that's completely wrong, and I can tell you why. And then so I connected them today, and they're speaking, and he's going to share some of his thoughts and stuff like that. But that goes to give you an example of he doesn't like prospecting Boomtown leads. He struggles with the tech side of things. He struggles with making calls, but he's a very experienced agent, and he went and said, okay, I'm going to pick my niche and my avatar that of the client that I want to work with. And then we built some marketing around it. And, it's not even really like streamlined in terms of how I'm going to help him with it, because he's like actually in Wichita in the Boulevard group. And it's like he's getting amazing results by just focusing on that one thing and that one avatar and going deep in it. You see what I'm saying? Versus if he's trying to be everything to everyone. And so like, I love it. And so that's kind of what you did. Let me attract my tribe, and you mentioned it, like somebody attracting somebody from college versus, randomly reaching out through outbound. It's like, if you run a content calendar for the people that's listening, and I'm sure they talk about this in Apex, it's like you should be running a content calendar just like you do with prospecting. It's like, I'm going to shoot and record or create or cultivate on this like these days at these hours, right? And so you're could be recording, you could be editing, you could be publishing, you could all of that stuff, because you want to create an inbound approach off of the vibrations that you put out into the world are the same ones that you're going to attract back, right? And so having that outbound inbound approach by controlling the cost and keeping it low by speaking specifically to your avatar, I love it. And then you'll add a whole nother layer of business to that. And then if you're starting to create more business than you can handle, that's when you hire your first agent. And it's like, I love you called it stack it. And I've never heard about that other agent that you spoke about. You said it's successful, but what was his stack him and rack him? What was the term?
Stack and rack. It's a guy named Bobby Castro. He recently sold, I think it was a few years ago, started from scratch and sold his company for $1 billion. And it was
Real estate?
What's that?
Real estate?
Yeah. They started with one rental property and literally built it up to a damn $1 billion company and made their exit.
Is he out in California?
He is in Miami area, I want to say. I think he's in Florida.
Yeah, I don't know that guy. That's crazy.
He's got a book. What was the name of it? Called The Upsiders.
I love it. So the Upsiders, I'm gonna look it up, but I love that. I just love the rack 'em and stack 'em, like, you know, cashing necks and or breaking necks and cashing checks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, you have to be able to do all this stuff.
I will say that book actually helped so much with a lot of the realizations that I had too, because in the book, he talks about how when he was young, he was like really like fallen victim to what he called the flash dancers, which is people who are just, they're not really doing it, but they look like they're doing it, like flashy and selling you something. And, you know, he was really a victim to that, even to the point where he was maybe addicted to buying the next thing or whatever. And he got tired of it and it was hurting him financially. And he decided, no more, I'm going to go back to basics. And he actually went and was washing dishes at a restaurant while growing his business. And he said the confidence that it gave him, the peace of mind that it gave him, the respect for money that it gave him is what really changed the game. And I'm telling, that book really came at the right time because it was kind of, I could relate to what was in the book. It was exactly kind of what I was going through, and, you know, had a decent year last year, but I wasn't really respecting the money like I am now and making certain decisions, you know, in respect to the money and to profit, not just revenue, you know, because who gives a shit at the end of the day? Like, if it's not in your account, like, you know, what's going on? Is it that what we're in the business for at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. You make $1 million and you spend $1 million, you're still absolutely broke, just like the average frustrated agent. Chase, maybe if you could type in the book inside of the chat there for
Yeah, I just did. I saw it.
Okay, all right, sweet. Okay, cool. Yeah, and so it's like that make $1 million, you spend $1 million, you're still broke, except you have all the frustration and headache and all that time spent to make it, and then absolutely nothing to show for it. You might as well just sat next to the bum and not did anything because you could both just netted the same amount, you know. Except I guess you do have that experience, you know, to hopefully not do it again. You know, for sure. And I will say, you know, I run highly profitable until even this last year. I doubled down. I spent way more than I should have in a lot of different areas of my business, and I ran it broke. And I planned on running it broke before the shift happened for many different reasons, tax reasons, reinvesting back in my business. And coming out of this winter, there's like a lot of things where I'm like, man, it's like, things got to grab. There has to be traction with some of those things, right? Or it's like I got to go back and rework the formula with some of this stuff, and it's always been like that. Always, however, running that high profitability model with you've seen like Matt Smith go from 200 closings over 1,000. What Blake's been able to do, Tyranny, like you name it, all these people, right? It's like we got to be able to show them the right way to do it. And go check my YouTube channel out. I put Mike Gerbic was just on there coaching on the financial model inside of Team Mastery, you know, and people still pay $2,000 a month for that, you know, and that's the guy that changed my life, got me in real estate, and it's free for all of the, you know, top agent experts people. And he's basically coaching team leads on not necessarily what Top Agent Experts does. Like we'll teach you how to convert business, how to, you know, prospect, how to set appointments, like everything that a top agent should be able to do. But Team Business Mastery is for team leads. Like, how do you manage your money, right? And it's like, how do you respect it? Like what you were talking about, and when do I invest in this, and what percentages should I be like allocating towards pay-per-click advertising, or staff, or we'll just say transactions department, or any of that stuff. And Gerbic covered all that just like he does every 12 or 15 weeks inside of Team Business Mastery Live. And so go over to my YouTube channel and check out the financial business model. It's basically the $1 million model You know, and it's like, take your production out of your business right now. I'm not talking about you, Chase. I'm just saying in general with everyone. And it's like, what is that number? If you take your business and your activities out of it, do you really have a business? What I found from working with a lot of top producers is that their business is really non-existent if they back out their production, right? And so it's like, if you got cancer, or you got sick, or you got, you know, it's T-bone, somebody ran a red light or a stop sign, can your business still thrive or even maintain in a profitable sense and run without you, you know? And if it's a no, you need to be able to make some changes, and you got to go do the hard stuff and build it up in the right way yourself, until once you get some of these things predictable, that you can turn over and move on to the next pillar. Because once you get a few of these things set up and in a predictable way, Chase, then you're going to say, what's next, right? And then hopefully you're working back with me or whoever else in the network that's already been there and done it, where they can look at your business and say, okay, here's where you're at, here's some options that you have, and then go and add that next layer to your business. And then you're going to have to get your hands dirty with that. You know, you're going to have to get it predictable and so on and so forth, so you can nail it to be able to scale it. And that's what it's all about. So, I mean, we're kind of here at the top of the hour, guys. I like it. Any other words of wisdom, man? It's like, it's going to be exciting to see where you're at in a couple of years. You're a sharp guy. Definitely have a lot of tenacity. You definitely learned a lot through the last market shift and kind of, taking a step back to rebuild it the right way. But what's some final thoughts or words that you can leave the group with?
Just final words, just kind of find what works for you, find out what's important to you. Some people I've found like to have their backs against the wall constantly. And other people like myself like to have a little cash in the bank to operate at their highest potential. So you have to find out what works for you. You mentioned some real heavy hitters in this group that have like massive businesses, and I respect the hell out of those guys. For me at this point, I'm working on building the strongest foundation that I can. And that starts with, maximizing my potential, maximizing profits, and then go on from there. So you just have to find what works for you, what you want, what kind of lifestyle you want, what works with your, family situation, your financial situation, etc., and go from there.
Yeah. So the book all of you guys need to read, and probably Chase, this will be good for you, is called Fuel. It's the EGS model. So most of the people running with me, we run the Fuel model or the EGS model, right? And it's all about putting profit first, and the people and the systems and all that stuff. A lot of us triangulate back with John Cheplack, and I'm sure you guys all know who he is, right? And I'd read Traction, I'd read Fuel, I'd read the EGS model, same author, different variations of the book. And it is all about profitability. That's the only thing that matters. Like, how profitable, how much did you keep at the end of the year, right? And then how much leverage did you create in your business? So go knock those books out. And Chase, it sounds like some of these books will be great for you, and and you'll have a lot more clarity as you're starting to build your business as well, with the leading and lagging indicators inside of your business, which are, the key performance indicators, which people call KPIs and all that stuff. But you guys have a good afternoon, and go knock those books out. Execution wins, man. That talk is cheap. And so let me know how I can help. AdamLiveChat.com. Get on my calendar. Just do it. Later, guys.
Thank you.